Thank you all so much for joining us today. My name is Chloe Green. I am the Public Programs and Outreach Manager here at the Maryland Center for History and Culture. And I'm very thrilled to see so many wonderful people joining us on this very cozy Saturday morning to play with paper dolls by Claire McCardell with me and learn a little more about them. For our program today, we're going to start for the first half. I have a little presentation for everybody with some really fun pictures. We're going to look at paper dolls and we're going to talk a little bit about how they came about, how they are time capsules into the past of maybe societal standards. Thank you, Margot. I have my wonderful colleague, Margot, on the back helping me today. And we're also going to look a little more at Claire McCardell, whose paper dolls we're going to be exploring today. And then we're going, after I'm done with my presentation, we're going to take a quick break and then we will jump into our craft activity. And then I have some other fun things to show you about other ways you can play with paper dolls. But before we jump in, I just want to go over a few virtual etiquette things just so that we can all have a great time. As always, please use the raise your hand function if you have a comment or would like to speak, and Margot or I will be able to get to you. Please remain muted. We definitely want to hear from all of you during the craft portion, but during the presentation portion, I want to make sure everybody can hear me well. And then you may also use the chat for questions and comments, and Margot or I will get to them throughout the program. But we're going to, and I just saw a question pop up in the chat. This will be recorded. We are recording right now, and within 1 or 2 weeks, we will post it onto our virtual archive on our website, our virtual program archive, and you'll be able to view it then. And there will be other information on that following this program shortly. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this presentation and go ahead and start with the first example of what exactly paper dolls are. So if you have an idea of what paper dolls are, what they mean to you, please put them in the chat. We would love to hear from you all because they're so versatile and they're such a cool, not only were they a plaything, they were a commodity, they were used for marketing. You saw designers. I believe during my research, I saw a Balenciaga paper doll collection. But paper dolls became very popular from around the mid-19th century, and they stuck around until the mid-20th century. And they were incredibly cost-effective. They were easily obtainable. You could pick them up out of a fashion magazine. You could pick them up out of a special book. Maybe you could grab them just out of a newspaper. They were very easy to include in publications that the public was consuming. And they were really wonderful because they also allowed users to engage their imagination and practice creativity with being able to mix and match so many different outfits. They were especially influential during the World War II period, which was an era where there were restricted resources and materials. And so along with being cost-effective, paper dolls became a really great tool for children and eventually for people of all ages. So I have some images in the next slide that we can show all the different ways paper dolls were used. So they were a product of both popular culture and mass marketing, but they did also capture society's evolving perceptions of women or key influences on society at the time. So I don't know if anybody noticed on our previous slide, there was a photo that said career women paper dolls. So booklets like that, like career women and paper dolls with professions, those became very popular in the 1970s during the post-women's rights movement. So there were a lot more variations of career wear and employment, and you could dress your doll up like a vet, you could dress her up like a sports woman, maybe she was skiing, whatever your imagination wanted. So fashion magazines, designers, toy makers, illustrators, they all took to the paper doll market as well to promote their own designs. So paper doll clothing often reflected what was trendy or popular. So as you can see on the left, there are paper dolls for wedding dresses. There were different professions. We had celebrities, glamorous movie stars, and these were also used to promote cultural values. So for example, the use of the bridal paper doll, they were both trying to express that these were important goals to achieve in life, or they were important milestones. So the recreational clothing paper dolls could inspire hobbies or careers in the users' lives. So they actually became quite, like we were saying, a time capsule into the past values of the society. The more popular paper dolls often were the fashion ones. They also did promote American fashion at the time, which was very, very interesting. So we're going to take a look at some of the paper doll clothing we are going to actually work with today that was drawn by lovely Claire McCardell, who we'll talk about in a second. So here are a couple of pages, and for all of our wonderful registrants here today, hopefully everybody was able to either receive their mailed materials or they were able to pull off and print out these images. If you did not and you're just here to hang out and talk with us and hear from us today, you do have the option to print off these pages and play with them later and share them. So these are from a paper doll book using Claire McCardell's dress sketches and illustrations. And this book came out around the 1950s. So this book is also on display in our newest Claire McCardell exhibit, which if you have not come to see it and you're a fashion fanatic, I highly recommend you come see it. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. It really is a really wonderful exhibit. And there's so many beautiful designs, and Claire to this day continues to be timeless. So looking at these clothing, this is in the 1950s era. So we definitely want to take a look and notice we see some dresses, but these dresses are built a little different from what traditionally you would see on women at that time period. So during the 1950s, women were primarily expected to fill more domestic roles. Alternative, so their clothing was maybe not the most flattering, maybe it wasn't the most functional. Fashion trends also were prioritizing creating a flattering figure for the women. There's many accounts of French models and American women saying, you know, these garments are beautiful, but they're not comfortable. The stitching wasn't correct. They were difficult to move in. They might have made you look really nice, but they didn't feel nice to wear. So, and I think we can all agree here, we probably have one or two things in our closet that look nice, but don't feel too nice. And I'm sure Claire McCardell would tell all of us to throw it out. But we'll talk a little more about who she is in a second. So women were, while they were filling these domestic roles, they were simultaneously expected to get a lot of things done, but they were also expected to look nice. So looking at these designs a little closer, these dresses kind of meet in the middle, and that's one of the reasons that Claire's designs were so popular and why we want to look at her paper doll dresses and designs today. Some of these feature her most popular designs that to this day are still being used by designers everywhere. One designer in particular, Tory Burch, we actually had the pleasure of working with her a little closely, or pretty closely throughout the year on our Claire McCardell exhibit. But why don't we talk a little bit more about exactly who Claire is? So this is Claire McCardell. She was an American women's fashion designer from the 1930s. Professionally, she pretty much focused on fashion her entire life. That was her bread and butter. She was very passionate about it. And she was also very passionate about taking the garments that we already had in America and making them better and improving them for the wearers, which were primarily at this time American women and women in the workforce, especially concerning that World War II era where you saw a huge influx of women entering the workforce because all the men were off to fight the war. And so Claire's designing career really took off, especially in that time period, because she was credited for creating easy functional garments for women. She is credited as being the creator of sportswear, and she constantly blows fashion historians and enthusiasts away with how modern yet elegant her garments were. And also considering, especially during the World War II era when resources were limited, she got creative and she used different materials such as men's shirt materials. She came up with different design and sewing patterns that used as little fabric as possible. So Claire was a really, really awesome designer. And we love looking at her fashion because, like I was saying a little earlier, at this time, women's fashion was not really concerned with allowing the wearer some autonomy, whether it was visually or just physically. Garments were difficult to move around in, but Claire she really burst onto the scene because while everybody was concerned with following French fashion trends of the time, Claire focused solely on making her clothes better for women. And not to mention, she's also the inventor of the ballet flat. So we have a lot to thank Claire for. So we're going to go over to the next slide and we're going to take a look at a couple more garments. Thank you, Margot. So this is another page from her paper doll book that some of us might play around with today, depending on what garments you decided to pick from the book. So this book also does feature some of Claire's most popular designs. The biggest one, the most important one that I think she is credited for before anything else in my experience is her design of the popover dress. So on top of Claire designing clothes that had bold colors and patterns and the easy construction that made it very user-friendly. I know there's a funny quote out there of her saying, I put zippers on the side because how do I get dressed by myself with the zippers on the back? So Claire was right. So these two dresses are examples of her popover design. Yes, and thank you, Stephanie. She did also put pockets in her dress. I'm very sorry for forgetting that. She did a lot of amazing things, everybody. She did a lot of really great things. So this is a couple examples, particularly the green one on the right. This is a popover dress. So it was multifunctional, it was flattering, but it didn't restrict the wearer. It looked great, so you could also get your work done in it. And this pattern and design that she made became the foundation for a variety of wraparound dress patterns that are still used today. And so we love that. And then another fun fact, even Claire played with paper dolls, which makes today's program all that more fun. So there are accounts of her cutting up her mother's fashion magazine and using the pieces of clothing to dress her paper models and design different outfits and mix and match and just really allow her fashion creativity to flow because she was a very independent thinker and she had a lot of ideas and these paper dolls were a great catalyst for her to practice that. And then she would later go on and do so with real clothing. So we thank Claire McCardell many times. We appreciate her for all of her designs, and we're very thrilled to have this paper doll book because since paper dolls are such a peek into past fashion trends, it's just wonderful to have one from Claire McCardell. And some of the dresses in this paper doll book, they are derived from sketches of her designs because she was quite an avid drawer as well. She was always coming up with new designs. Even though Claire passed away around in the 1950s, she was a designer up to the end of her days. She was working on a baby clothing line when she passed away, and we still revere her today. We still have her designs, and we're very much looking forward to getting to explore her designs a little more today and play with some of these different dresses and different patterns that she gave us through these paper dolls. So we're going to go ahead and take our 5-minute break. So during this time, feel free to get some water, stretch, but also grab those materials that you're going to need for the craft portion of the program. I'm going to go ahead and mute and turn off my camera, and we will see you back here at 10:35 to begin our craft portion. All right, everybody, welcome back. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up our break. So hopefully you had a chance to grab your craft materials, or maybe somebody in the program felt inspired to sketch up their own paper dolls while we were talking. Who knows? Well, I'm very excited to get started. I see one of our guests, Pamela. I really love your craft setup. It's really wonderful. I don't know if anybody else can see her, but she's got her table laid out and everything. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And this is a more modern day example before we jump into our vintage paper dolls. This is a more modern day example. This is from the New York Times Style magazine. So in May of 2020, they approached several artists, illustrators, and designers and asked them to basically design their own paper doll outfit and just kind of let their imagination run wild. And this was a month or two into the pandemic, so that was kind of part of the exercise for the magazine and these artists, was to give them an outlet for their creativity while visiting something that was both vintage but could also have a modern flair. So these are some of the outcomes of what the artist designed. And we have this article. We're happy to share it with you all after this program. These different outfits all had different inspirations. Some of the artists chose to go more old-fashioned. Some of them chose to do a little more modern day. Some of them tapped into their childhood or maybe their perfect idea of what life looks like. Like on the right, that is a farmer's outfit. The artist who designed it said that she grew up in the country and just really loved being outside and was really hoping to get back to her roots for that someday. So thank you for showing that, Margot. I think we should be all good on the slides for now. We're gonna do our craft really quick. Thank you. And then we'll jump back in the slides a little later because I do want to show some fun examples of other ways we can play with paper dolls. But to get us started, hopefully everybody grabbed one or the other. My background is being rude. So while I am fixing that, here we go. Let's see. So hopefully everybody grabbed one or both of the paper dolls. I'm going to choose our lovely lady. I've just been calling her Marilyn. She kind of looks like Marilyn Monroe. Not built as big as Miss Marilyn was, but this was the 1950s. This was the ideal woman type, but thankfully we've grown a little more since then. So everybody has their paper doll. You are welcome to cut out clothes from all the pages today. I have chosen to go with these 2 sheets for our model. And while you are working with your paper dolls, please note that the one with brown hair, she does have her arms positioned differently. So make sure when you're cutting out your clothing, you want to pay attention and make sure that the clothing is following the form of your paper doll. Don't do like I did earlier this week and cut out all the clothes and realize they didn't fit on your model. So hopefully you all have those clothes. And then we'll also need a pair of scissors. So this is a pretty low maintenance craft today. You're welcome to grab tape or glue if you would like, in order to save your outfits if there's one that you really love. I'm going to hold off on glue and tape today because I want my paper doll to wear all different outfits, because you never know what else she's got going on. So this is my finished paper doll. I'm just gonna call her Marilyn Jr. throughout the program. So this is Marilyn Jr. She's got a lovely little long sleeve basic dress. I like to think that she's probably going to brunch with her friends, or maybe just for a walk in the park. But she is looking good and she is strutting her stuff. I also took the opportunity to cut out the mannequin on the front sheet with her. And something very fun, one of my coworkers actually made me realize this, because I did ask everybody I work with to play with these paper dolls coming up for this program. You can actually cut out that mannequin and hang all of your garments on it. And some of my coworkers did one of them in particular did something very creative, which I will show you all a little later. But feel free to cut out that mannequin, and then you have a place where you can hang your clothes when you're done. But we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to go ahead and everybody get your paper doll with your lady, and we're going to go ahead and just start cutting her out. So we're going to grab our scissors and just feel free to go in. Just for the sake of time and for the program today, I did not pull these materials, but if anybody has a cutting mat and an X-Acto knife, that might also really help with your details, and it might make the cutting out job a little bit easier. But you do whatever you gotta do. So now I'm thinking about it, we should get some music in these craft portions in the future. If you all think some music ambiance would sound good, let us know, and we will look into some fun, not copyrighted background music we can play. So while we are cutting out these paper dolls, if you all, thanks, Pauline, we will see what we can do about background music. Since we have, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate the feedback. I listen to music religiously, so lovely. Thank you. I like the idea of local artists. We are looking forward to engaging our public community a lot more and the artists that live in the area. We will definitely find somebody for that as well. So while everybody is cutting out their paper dolls, I do want to just chat a little bit. And I know our hands are super busy, but if you want to take a break, you can let us know in the chat, or feel free to unmute and speak. We can use that raise your hand function. Excuse me. So it's fun. It is fun to look at paper dolls and think about how they are a wealth of information, and it lets us know about the social expectations placed on women at a particular moment in time. They were, and they are intentionally designed to reflect the idealized version of womanhood, however that was defined by society at the time. It is very interesting that they were used as marketing tools, and something that was so readily available. I know roughly around the 20th century, technological advances did allow for many, many different kinds of paper dolls to hit the market. Businesses were printing them out at the speed of light. They were printing out so many different kinds, and just for any purpose that a kid could think of. Paper dolls back then, in my research, and this is something we did like to talk about, they were not the most inclusive content. Yes, thank you, Ruth. I know paper dolls, they did have those perforations, and these Claire McCardell books that were sold at one time, they were also perforated. Unfortunately, they are not in print anymore, so we were unable to locate a clean, unperforated version. We were very thankful to a lovely woman on eBay. I do not quite remember her name at the time, but I'm happy to share her business name after the program in a follow-up email. She does a great job making print reproductions of vintage paper doll books and vintage children's books. And yes, thank you, Colleen, in the chat. Our museum store, we do have a Claire McCardell coloring book, which you could turn that into paper doll if you wanted to. All right, so let's see. Hopefully everybody has had a chance to cut out their lovely lady, whichever lady you decided on. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and cut out one of our garments for her. So I'm a really big fan of these red pants and this funky tied shirt. It honestly looks like something I wear to work on a normal day. So I think I'm going to dress my paper doll so we can both look like we're heading into the office to do a fun day full of programming and talking to lovely enthusiasts such as everybody here today. I did. During our break, I was reading our chat as well, and I saw a lot of wonderful messages about people who also played with paper dolls growing up, and it was very, very wonderful to see. Yes, we have a raised hand from Mara. Please go ahead.
Hang on, sorry, I had to unmute. For those of you who play with paper dolls, because I never did, I just made a little stand, which obviously is the wrong size, but did you guys make stands that you could stand them up on, or did you just play with them flat?
Oh, that's a really good question. Thank you, Mara. I don't know.
We did both. We did both depending on what was going on, and we'd have them walk around and act out things just like we did with regular dolls. But I think I liked paper dolls better, although I did design clothes for my other dolls and sew them on a little sewing machine that you did a hand crank sewing machine for my Vogue dolls. But I like the paper dolls better, and it gave me more freedom to do things. But we still, yes, we did. We would stand them up and we would make a little circular thing out of cardboard, like a half moon, and with a slit in it.
Good to know.
So that was so sweet. Thank you. I never thought about doing that when I had paper dolls growing up. I ended up taping them on the walls, or I always ended up building little dioramas for them because my mom was really big on shoes. So we had a lot of shoe boxes. So I gave my paper dolls a backdrop and I would make little kind of shadow boxes. But I love hearing about all the different ways everyone utilized their paper dolls to play with.
We used to get the same sets and then cut them down and make families. So we'd have like the oldest sister, and then we get another one and like trim around her and trim around the clothes, and then get another one and trim around her, and that would be the baby. So we would make families out of them.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I'd love to ask, where did you get your paper dolls from usually? Because I actually got some off of the back of cereal boxes once. So just a lot of really, I'd love to hear from you all where you were able to get them.
Woolworths, which was like what Walmart and Target are now. Toy stores.
My favorite paper dolls was Katie Keenan. She came in comic books.
Maybe a comic books, toy stores. I've seen some comments also about people saying paper dolls inspired careers in fashion, in the fashion industry. Woolworths in Ohio, love to see it. Alrighty. While we're cutting out our clothes, if anybody has their outfit cut out, has their doll dressed up, do feel free to hold it up to the camera. We can peruse and see some of our dolls. I am nearly done cutting out the outfit for my doll. I will get to show her off in a second. So I have my finished clothing here. Got my fun little outfit. For the sake of time, I'm not going to let everybody sit here. I won't let everybody sit here and watch me cut out these little fragile sections between the arms, but I think you all will have a little more time than me today, so you can spend some time with those finer details. All right. Here we go. Marilyn Jr. is going to go to work. Yes, Carol, please go ahead and speak.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm doing this right, if you can hear me. So a modern iteration of a paper doll. I'm actually Maura's sister. We went on a trip. Maura couldn't go. We made a Maura doll. We took it on the hike with us, and then we made clothes and dressed her up. We made, we played with the Maura doll with this group of people, our cousins, and it was so much fun. She was drinking champagne, she was hiking in the woods, so it was a way to include her. So I just mentioned that if anybody wants to use that.
It was really nice because I was homesick. I mean, I missed the trip because I was sick. So I got to see pictures of me doing things. I mean, I think we must have laughed until we cried just because it was so much fun. But mine's getting ready. I live right next to the Kennedy Center and they're setting up for the Kennedy Center honors. So she's trying out her dress for the Kennedy Center honors.
She looks great. I think she's going to be the look of the night. Thank you for sharing, Carol. That's so sweet. And Maura, I'm glad that your sisters were able to join. Carol, Maura was looking out for you all last week and making sure
Yes,
you all
she
got
would.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Somebody mentioned Flat Stanley. I haven't talked about him in a while. Yes, this is my doll. She is on her way.
I had a lot of
dress.
fun with Flat Stanley, and I guess maybe it brought back the paper doll in me, but I went around and all around Annapolis. I went on some tall ships that were in there with them from my little nephew, and it was just so much fun to take pictures with Flat Stanley. So I guess that I love that idea of taking a missing friend. I think I'm going to do that next time I go on a trip. It's just so much fun. Instead of saying, I wish you were here, you could say you are here.
And then we collected materials from the trip. So then we made her dresses and outfits using some of the twigs and bark and, and so we dressed her in all sorts of fashions. So that was fun too.
I think you've inspired a lot of people in here today, Carol. Thank you. I see a lot of heads nodding.
Well, it's better than just having the pictures on Facebook if you're actually in it. I mean, that I just, as I said, because I was so sick for maybe 2 of those days. It was the highlight of of their trip, frankly.
Exactly. I love that. That is so precious. All right, everybody. So it is about 10:55. So we're in our last 5 minutes of the program. Please do not stop crafting. Everybody, it looks like they are really hard at work. So if you get a chance, look at the screen. go ahead. But otherwise, keep on crafting away. I'm going to show, this is my little paper doll. She's dressed nice and bright and colorful today because it is a little rainy outside, but she's still feeling herself. I actually just realized I have on this side, I have a vintage print on the wall, and I just realized that my paper doll and her could be sisters. So I think that is funny. So shout out to the vintage print shops in New York. So this is my paper doll. So Margot, whenever you get the chance, we want to put up our slide on the New York style, and we're going to continue from there. And yes, thank you for putting in the chat. Also, please do share your paper dolls with us. Carol in particular, Carol and Mara, we would love to see the pictures of the Mara doll traveling. So please,
Okay.
if you get a chance, send them our way. We would love to share that with
Okay.
your permission with our other viewers. So these are some pictures I wanted to show everybody. So I said a little earlier that I asked my coworkers to play with paper dolls because while developing this program, we want to make sure that we're promoting an activity that is fun and gets people engaged. And fortunately, these are three very lovely people. On the very left, that is Robin Levy. She is actually our Tory Burch Claire McCardell Fellow for 2022. So Robin has been with us since early February. She has been just an invaluable resource about Claire McCardell. She helped did a ton of research, helped put on the Claire McCardell exhibit we have up now on the second floor of our museum. And Robin's just lovely all around, incredibly knowledgeable, and it has been so wonderful to have her on the team. So in the middle there, that is Tyler Osborne. She is our digital learning manager. So she runs all of our virtual field trips. So she is amazing, and she loves vintage things. She loves playing around. So she got a kick out of this. And then on the right, we have Vivian Barnett. She is one of our collection specialists. Her title is much longer and much more amazing that reflects the work she does, but I don't remember all of it. So sorry, Vivian, but she was also having fun. So these are some pictures of them playing with their paper dolls. And on the next slide, I have a couple photos of our finished product. So this is Tyler and Vivian looking very excited with their finished dolls. You can see they're just grinning from ear to ear. They definitely enjoyed doing this. I really appreciated that they were able to take time out of their day to help me with this activity. And adults, no matter what age, everybody loves to play. And so on the next slide is something that I've been very excited to show everybody who attended. So this is the shadow box diorama that Tyler created with her finished paper doll. She went all in. She strung up some strings. She cut out the paper hangers. She hung the other clothes on them. And she basically made a closet for her paper doll clothes to go into. So she cranked this out in about 2 hours. I'm not sure how she did it. We share an office, and yet I did not realize she was doing this until she was done. But it was really, really wonderful. And it inspired me to share with you all, along with Carol and Mara's idea about taking a paper doll with you on a trip. I just wanted to show all other ways that we can play with paper dolls, because we may not rely on them the same as we did when they first were created, but it's still fun to play with them and revisit this not old, but kind of vintage, but also very modern day plaything as just a form of creativity and a form of art. So we are at 11 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up our programs. I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who joined today. We appreciate you all being patient with us again for the technical difficulties in the beginning, but it was so lovely to be joined by everybody. There's this wonderful energy. I love fashion enthusiasts and paper doll and play enthusiasts. You all are always so wonderful to be with. Please do come by our museum and see our Claire McCardell exhibit when you get the chance. We would love, and let us know what your favorite outfit was maybe. And please keep an eye out for our upcoming spring 2023 programming calendar, which will drop the 1st of February is what we're aiming for. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of really, really fun stuff coming up. And thank you, everyone. I'm so glad you all had fun. I had a great time. So you all enjoy the rest of your day. Please feel free to print off as many paper doll pages as you would like. Share them. Please do share with us what you end up doing with them, or if you have other paper doll projects. And yeah, thank you all so much. And yes, Colleen, I will share the Etsy resource. I see her, Pamela. She's beautiful. All right, so thank you, everybody. You all have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, and we hope to see you all, if not at the museum, in one of our next programs whenever our calendar drops. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.